According to an ancient legend, the great King Uther Pendragon ruled Brittany justly, but when he left no children. As a result, the nation was divided by war and several nobles tried to take the throne by force. It was then that a powerful wizard called Merlin created a magical sword, Excalibur, and stuck it in a rock. Only the heir of Pendragon would be able to pull it out and, after many attempts, a boy managed to remove the sword. His name was Arthur. Revealed as the unknown son of Uther, Arthur grew up to be a worthy king, ruling Brittany with the Knights of the Round Table. However, his half-sister, Morgana, considered herself the true queen and used dark magic to confront her brother. In the end, Arthur defeated her, but Morgana swore that when the nation was weak and leaderless, she would return to take Excalibur. This legend has been told many times, including in the book of a young boy called Alex, who is late for school this morning. After catching the bus, Alex sees a message from his friend, Betters, asking for help. He rushes to the school and finds him being tormented by two older students, Lance and Kay, who want to steal his lunch money. The youngster gathers his courage and confronts the bullies, but Lance pushes him and throws Alex's homework into a puddle of water. Furious, the boy jumps on top of the bully and attacks him, but soon after, he is pulled away by one of the teachers and taken to the principal's office. Because of the fight, Alex, Lance and Kay are punished with detention and the bullies vow revenge on the boy. After school, the pair start chasing him down the road and Alex goes to hide in an abandoned building. However, Lance and Kay find him and threaten to beat him up, but in his escape, the boy stumbles and falls unconscious to the ground. With that, the pair leave, but Alex soon recovers and sees, amidst the wreckage, a sword stuck in the rock. The boy manages to pull it out and a light is reflected by the blade. However, when he hears police sirens, the boy puts the sword away in his backpack and calls Betters to meet him at his house. Minutes later, Alex shows Betters the sword he's found and on it, there's a crystal near the handle and inscriptions in Latin. Using a translator program, the pair discover that it belongs to King Arthur, the same one from the book Alex's father gave him. The boys, however, think it's all just a legend and Alex jokingly names Betters his royal knight. Finally, he decides to leave the sword hidden in the closet, but the news that Excalibur has been found reaches Morgana, who awakens from her slumber in the depths of the world. In addition to her, another entity is attracted to Excalibur and appears at Stonehenge in the form of a young man with no clothes on. He soon takes the clothes of a market vendor and follows the road, until he is stopped by two policemen. However, with his magical powers, he forces the agents to take him by car to a school, the same one where Alex and Betters go to school. The young man then introduces himself as Merton, the youngest student in the class, and his strange, awkward manner soon becomes the butt of jokes among the kids, including Alex. Shortly afterwards, during an astronomy lesson, Merton keeps watching Alex, which makes the boy uncomfortable. The lesson continues and the teacher talks about the solar eclipse that will take place in 4 days' time, something that makes Merton so desperate that he leaves the room without explaining. Later, at snack time, Merton returns and tells everyone that King Arthur's heir has returned and points in Alex's direction. As expected, the boy doesn't like this at all and runs away from the young man, who begins to be ridiculed by the other students. After school, Alex returns home, ready to return the sword and forget everything that has happened. However, in the middle of the night, he wakes up to a noise coming from outside and, when he looks out of the window, a skeleton with a blade of fire rises from the ground. The boy tries to call his mother, Mary, but when he sees that she is not at home, he locks himself in his room and takes the sword, which emits a strong light in its crystal. Finally, the skeleton invades his room and Alex tries to defend himself, but with a single blow, the villain throws Excalibur away. The creature then attacks him with its fiery sword and Alex tries to dodge, but the villain manages to catch him and prepares to deliver the final blow. But before he can, the skeleton is disintegrated by Merton, who appears at the last minute to save the boy. As a result of the effort, Merton is weakened and tells Alex to meet him later in a cafeteria. The boy agrees and, seeing the connection between these events and the sword, decides to take another look at his father's book. Back in Morgana's lair, she discovers that her warrior has been defeated by a boy, along with the new incarnation of the wizard Merlin. The witch then breaks free from her prison on Earth and summons her army of zombies to recover Excalibur. Meanwhile, Alex ends up falling asleep next to the sword and is seen by his mother, who scolds him for having such a dangerous weapon. She orders the boy to hand the sword over to the authorities, but instead Alex runs away with it and goes to meet Merton to get answers. He and Betters go to the diner, where the wizard has found a job and a temporary home. The guy reveals that he is the wizard Merlin and warns Alex that, because he has found the sword, he will be pursued by the warriors of the witch Morgana, who appear at dusk. When this happens, time stops, except for those who use the sword or those who are knighted, as was the case with betters. Finally, he warns that if Morgana isn't stopped before the eclipse, all of Brittany will be imprisoned. Alex and betters don't believe the story, but to convince them, the wizard assumes his adult form and uses his magic to show them a vision of the future. In it, the whole country is condemned by the witch and its inhabitants are turned into prisoners. After this frightening vision, Merlin tells Alex that he is the chosen one to find the witch's home and defeat her once and for all. The wizard then leaves and Alex, aware of his mission, summons betters to return to the place where he found Excalibur and come up with a plan. However, night is approaching and soon Morgana's soldiers will return to capture him. Lance and Kay show up again to pester Alex, but instead of confronting them, the boy decides to challenge them to pull the sword out of the rock. As he imagined, neither of them succeeded, so Alex told them that if he managed to remove the blade, Lance and Kay would have to kneel. Although they don't understand what he means, the pair accept, and when Alex pulls it out, the youngsters fulfill their promise and the boy names them his knights. However, Lance pushes the boy away and takes his sword, thinking it's all just a prank by Alex. Meanwhile, under the ground, 3 more skull warriors appear, mounted on fiery horses. Seeing this frightening image, Lance tries to defend himself with his sword, but the knight easily disarms him. The creature returns to eliminate the boy, only for Alex to take back Excalibur, block the warriors' attack and call the other kids to flee. During their escape, the group shouts for help, but as Merlin warned them, time is frozen in the presence of the warriors and there is no one to help them. The 4 then run down the road, but the knights pursue them relentlessly. With one of them right on his tail, Alex opens the door of one of the cars on the street, causing the rider to crash into it and completely disintegrate. However, 2 of them are still missing, so Kay reveals that she knows how to drive and the 4 of them get into one of the cars and set off down the road. The second rider manages to reach the vehicle, but Kay pushes him against the sidewalk and the warrior crashes into a bus stop. Finally, only one of the riders remains, so Kay turns the car around and drives towards him, ending the battle. However, as they do so, time returns to normal and from inside the car appears a lady who was driving in the real world. Despite this scare, the quartet manage to get out of the vehicle and hide in an alley, but Lance threatens Alex, demanding to know what's going on. So, the next day, he and betters go to Lance's house and explain everything they've discovered with Merlin the wizard. In addition, Alex says that they need to find the hiding place of the witch Morgana and that the only one who can give them the answer is his father, since it was he who gave him the book of King Arthur. The problem is that, since the divorce, Alex's father has been living in a remote region of Brittany, so the group's mission is to go there and save the country, just as the Knights of the Round Table did in the past and, seeing that the explanation is convincing, Lance and Kay agree to help them. Another day passes and the quartet take the bus to begin their journey, until they are approached by Merlin, who appears in the form of an owl. He uses his magic to control the vehicle and takes the opportunity to teach the boys the code of the knights. Afterwards, Merlin leads the group to Stonehenge, where he invokes magic to open a portal that leads to a shortcut. The rest of the way must be followed on foot and, in the middle of the long walk, the wizard decides to take a quick break to teach them the art of combat. To do this, Merlin uses a duplicity spell and with it, several copies of Excalibur are created and given to each of the group. He then invokes his power to give life to 4 trees, which will serve as training partners for the kids. Training then begins, while Merlin sets off in search of food. Despite the initial difficulty, the kids realize that the trees use their branches and roots to teach them the attack and defense movements of a sword. The kids learn everything quickly, but Morgana summons roots from deep within the earth, which trap Arthur and betters in the ground. They ask for help from their allies, but Lance, driven by greed, seizes Excalibur and tries to escape. However, he and Kay are also captured and the roots begin to pull the 4 of them into the earth. In the distance, Merlin hears the cries for help and invokes a powerful spell, which destroys the trees and roots, but the effort is too much for him and so he is forced to leave and recover his energy. After this, Alex confronts Lance for his attitude and tells him to give the sword back, but the boy refuses and proclaims himself the new leader. The group then moves on through a swamp, but Betters doesn't accept this situation and confronts Lance. The bully tries to attack him, but Alex steps in and challenges him to a sword fight. The two face off and, amidst Alex's accusations about Lance's selfish personality, the boy becomes enraged and tries to attack him with the sword, but the clash between the blades causes Excalibur to break. Without the sword, all hope is lost, but Alex remembers a part of the book that talks about the Lady of the Lake, the guardian of Excalibur. The boy then asks her to restore the blade and suddenly a hand appears from the water, holding the restored sword. Thanks to this miracle, the journey can continue and Lance, repentant for his actions, swears his loyalty to Alex, as do Kay and Betters. The four of them then continue their trek into the interior of Brittany, and halfway there, they meet a group of Amazons. They offer the kids ponies to ride to the nearest town and ask what they are doing there. However, the group doesn't have time to explain, as the sun has just set and Morgana's knights are about to return. As a result, time freezes again and the Amazons disappear, while the Skull Warriors begin to emerge from the earth. Mounted on ponies, the four heroes head quickly towards the forest, followed by dozens of the witch's minions. The chase intensifies and Betters ends up falling off his horse and becoming an easy target for the riders. Alex then orders Kay to help him, while he and Lance lure the warriors away. The girl obeys and soon she finds Betters being attacked by one of the knights and uses her sword to strike the villain's arm. Thanks to this, Betters manages to free himself, gets on his pony and rides off with his friends to the other side of the forest. Even so, the Skull Warriors don't intend to give up and soon more of them are being summoned from within the earth. To make matters worse, on the road ahead there is a huge cliff that leads straight down to the sea. Alex has an idea and, after getting off the pony, he jumps towards the cliff and, although confused, his friends do the same. In fact, they had jumped onto a firm part of the slope and so ended up luring the riders into a trap, with all of them jumping towards the sea. After this battle, the group finally arrives inland, in King Arthur's hometown and stops to rest in the ruins of a palace. The next morning, Alex heads to the village to find his father and discover where the witch is, but there he finds only his aunt, Sophie. She says that the boy's father no longer lives there and that he had a drinking problem, which resulted in his and Mary's divorce. Alex doesn't believe her and shows her the book he gave him about the legend of King Arthur, but Sophie reveals that the book was actually a gift from the boy's mother. Upon hearing this, Alex realizes that everything he thought about his father was a lie and leaves. Disillusioned, the boy returns to town and, because he no longer believes the legend, he throws King Arthur's book into the sea. Betters appears to comfort him and shows that, along the way, he has learned the magic of duplicity that Merlin taught him. Kay and Lance also support him, saying that it was thanks to the boy that they came together as a real group. Finally, Merlin, in his adult form, appears holding the book that Alex threw and gives it back. He goes on to say that it wasn't King Arthur's lineage that made him worthy of Excalibur, but his courage and determination to do the right thing. All these words renew Alex's motivation, but he still doesn't know where the witch Morgana's home is. Merlin explains that the answer is in the book and, on looking it up, the boy discovers that the villain still inhabits her old castle in the Glastonbury region. Now that they know where to go, the group needs weapons and mounts for the battle. So Alex and Betters go to a local arcade, where the boy uses the magic of duplication to get more coins so they can buy armor for protection. They then use the portal created by Merlin and reach Glastonbury, but there they find only a small empty palace. As they enter, Excalibur's crystal begins to glow and the boy realizes that the entrance is under the floor. Alex then sticks the sword into the ground, opening a passage that leads down an underground staircase. On their way down, they find a cave full of evil roots, which start attacking all of them. Despite their efforts, Betters and Kay are captured, but Lance stops the roots so that Alex can cross the path. The boy then continues to the end of the cave, finding Morgana's hideout, which is above a river of lava. Inside, Alex sees his friends trapped by the roots of the witch who finally reveals herself to the boy. She orders him to surrender and hand over the sword, but when Alex refuses, the witch transforms into a kind of dragon and starts pouring blasts of fire at the boy. Alex manages to dodge, but the witch has him cornered and tells him that he doesn't deserve to have the sword because he's not a descendant of Arthur. Upon hearing this, Alex surrenders and offers Excalibur to the witch, but as soon as she tries to take the sword, he takes it back and strikes the creature. With Morgana seriously injured, her magic begins to dissipate and the whole cave looks like it's going to collapse. Alex finds his friends, who have been freed from their roots, and escapes with them out of the cave. Luckily, they manage to get out before it collapses and, thanks to their joint efforts, Morgana is finally defeated. However, the legendary sword still has to be returned and, seeing a lake ahead, Alex throws Excalibur, which is caught by the Lady of the Water and carried back to the sea. With their mission accomplished, the group returns to London on the bus and, when Alex arrives home, he finds his mother asleep in her room. He wants to talk about everything he's discovered, but he doesn't feel ready yet and falls asleep in his room. The next morning, Alex wakes up, but he notices that his bedroom window is covered in roots. Shortly afterwards, Merlin appears and tells him that Morgana has not been defeated and is still stronger and more determined than ever. Alex doesn't understand what he has done wrong, because as well as hurting her, he has also obeyed the code of the knights. However, he realizes that he has forgotten one of the rules, to honor those he loves, because, before setting off, he wasn't honest and fair with his mother. Knowing this, the boy goes to her room and, on seeing him, hugs him, saying that she's been worried about him ever since he disappeared. Alex then reveals that he has discovered the truth about his father and that he understands his mother's attitude in trying to protect him from the past. Thanks to this, the two finally reconcile, but Alex still has a mission to complete. Knowing that he has to be honest with her, the boy decides to prove that the story of King Arthur is real by filling the bathtub with water and then summoning the water lady. The boy's mother is skeptical at first, but soon changes her mind when a hand emerges from the water, holding the legendary sword. Now that he has recovered Excalibur, Alex meets up with his friends and the wizard Merlin to decide how to confront Morgana. With only a few hours before the solar eclipse, the witch will come back stronger and so they need more help. So Alex decides to enlist the help of all the students at the school to turn them into knights so that they can face Morgana's army. The plan gets underway and, when they arrive at the school, Merlin uses his power to control the principal and make her gather all the students outside. Afterwards, Alex tells everyone about Morgana's threat and his discovery of the Excalibur sword. As expected, the students think it's all nonsense, but then Merlin turns into an owl, leaving everyone impressed. Afterwards, Alex asks everyone to kneel down so that he can make them knights to help in the battle against the witch. At first, the students refuse, but when Merlin gets the principal to say that in exchange, they won't have any homework, the whole class changes their minds. So, with everyone knighted, Alex and his friends start distributing armor, swords and shields and training all the students. What's more, with Merlin's magic, they force all the parents to hand over the keys to their cars, which will serve as makeshift mounts. Hours later, the whole school has become a war fortress and the solar eclipse is about to begin. Soon, hundreds of Morgana's horsemen begin to emerge from the earth and they all advance towards the school. Alex then orders the first part of his plan to begin, with the students using their cars to run over the horsemen who try to cross the entrance. The strategy works, but others manage to get through and invade the school corridors. Then it's time for the second stage, with the students, led by Alex, Betters, Lance and Kay facing the knights in a direct confrontation. The students' army manages to hold out, but Morgana's forces gather more and more and begin to outnumber them. Alex then orders everyone to retreat to the roof, where Merlin will summon a portal to trap the witch. However, when everyone gets there, Morgana sneaks up on Merlin and tries to attack him. The wizard then returns to his adult form and says that the witch will never win, because Alex and his friends have more courage and honor than she imagines. Morgana decides to put this to the test and transforms herself back into a dragon, spreading her flames all over the roof. Luckily, the students manage to dodge and use ropes to secure the witch's legs, as well as her neck, so that she can't release her flames. Even so, the witch manages to fire a blast of fire at Merlin, who tries to dodge it in his owl form, but is hit by the flames. Alex rushes to save him and finds the wizard weakened, but he helps him regain his strength with a potion made from a mixture of Merlin's favorite snacks. With his energy restored, the wizard creates a huge portal to keep Morgana trapped and Alex seizes the chance and leaps towards the witch. The villain prepares to eliminate him with her blast of fire, but the boy removes her head with a blow from Excalibur and the rest of her body is sucked into the portal. Finally, Morgana's threat is eliminated and everyone celebrates their victory, thanks to Alex and his companions. Another day passes and Merlin, returning to his adult form, bids farewell to the quartet, but first he gives Alex a new copy of the book, this time about the story of his and his friends' great adventure. Finally, he advises the four to become great leaders, because one day, the country will need them again. Alex then throws Excalibur and it is caught once again by the Lady of the Lake, who will keep it safe until one day another warrior can wield it once more. So what did you think of this movie? Leave it in the comments below. And if you liked the video, like and subscribe for more movie recaps. See you next time.